I think everyone should go. Yeah, they must go. But they must go because they need to support theater. It's been difficult times for theater with COVID and everything else, and we need to come out. We need to remind people how these stories are really important to be told. And one of the things that I was encouraged about, I said, you know what? When this COVID thing is over, there's going to be a need for a one man because it's going to take theaters a little while to get up and running. It's going to take theaters a little while to, the cast and rehearse and set designs and all the things. And maybe they can just plug in a one man here to someone to tell a really good story that they get engaged in and they discover their love of theater once again. And when we make the theater community healthy, then other great stories come out, ensemble pieces and musicals and all kinds of great stuff. So we cannot let this beautiful art form suffer any more than it has through this difficult COVID period. So yes, it's a must and it should come to the show. Hey, everybody, I'm a comedian, writer, Kevin Flynn, and I started my new one-man show called Fear of Heights. So check out this interview and you'll learn all about it. The inspiration for Fear of Heights sort of came throughout my life at a certain point, and it was during COVID when I was sort of reflecting upon where I am and what I've done and the choices I've made, and I started to write. And I wasn't sure what I was writing at first. I think I was writing, my grandfather's that famous person sitting on a beam, the furthest to the right. He's on that famous ironworker picture. And my father was an ironworker. My grandfather was an ironworker. And my grandfather was a famous ironworker, basically. And I just started to see what was going on in the country a little bit with everything, with immigration and accepting and what is America. And you look at that picture of those men on that beam. They were all immigrants, all 11 of them. And they helped build America. That's an iconic American photo. And yet that's our strength. Our strength is these people. They're Irish, they're Polish, they're Native Americans. And this is who we are as a people. And what I saw when I looked up there on that beam and thought about my grandfather, and he lost a finger and all the injuries that these men had, basically to try and put food on a table and put clothes on a back and a roof over the kids' heads. And then because of my grandfather and because of the sacrifices my father and mother made, I get to live a different life. I become this truly American kid who gets to play sports and gets to go to college and gets to try to be a stand-up comedian and try to be an actor and then raise my own family. And the choices I have to make there between the choices I make between a career or a family or what's best for a child. And when I started to think of the sacrifices which had been made for me, I reevaluated my life and I made some different choices, which you'll see in the play, but some people would agree with, some people wouldn't agree with them. It's the choices we all make as humans, as individuals, and as parents. Some of the main themes that run through the play are not just, I sort of talk about how I was raised and how hard my father and mother worked for us. I have 3 sisters. And I talk about how that kitchen table every night when we would sit down and have dinner before all the cell phones and social media, we sat at the table every night when my father got home. That's when dinner started. And it was a funny place to be. So I talk a little bit about growing up at a table where it was my first stage, really, where I had to make my 3 sisters laugh. And if I could get milk to come out of all 3 of their noses at one time, I know I've done my work for that evening. And how the lessons that I learned at that table took me and gave me the confidence to go out in the world and do certain things. I talk a little bit about my soccer career. I talk a little bit about, Boston when I first started. I talk about when I started to get to go on some of these auditions, how crazy they can be, commercial auditions and then regular auditions. And then I started to become a television host. I started landing jobs as a TV host. And I talk about that a little bit and how, I'm offered a big job on my honeymoon and I have to make this decision. And it's one of many decisions I have to make. So I talk a bunch about the industry. I keep trying to, during it, I keep trying to figure out how I'm going to become rich and famous because I knew I couldn't become an iron worker. So first it was soccer, then it was stand-up, then as an actor. I'm like, is it commercials? Is it sitcoms? Is it films? Well, it turned out a lot of it was television hosting. And so then a lot happens there as well. And then I have my daughter My daughter's born, and it changes my perspective. So I think it's very personal. But what I have been told as I've workshopped this play, that it's there's a lot for people to pull in, from it that they can relate to, which is always a good sign to hear that when you're coming off stage. People are like, my dad was like that. My table was like that. Oh, I had an audition just like that. Oh, yeah, you spoke to the same things that what happened to me when I had, my third child or whatever it was. So you start to write one of these things and you feel like it's almost narcissistic. Like who cares what you've gone through? But when you can sort of touch people on an emotional level, they identify with it as well. And so it becomes everyone's story. I think I want the audience to get whatever they feel out of it. I think I want them to pull whatever they identify with and understand maybe that I went through some of the things they went through, for good and for bad, and to really about what I came to. The conclusion was for me is about love and family and giving, all the things I had been taught growing up in life. The other things are fun, the travel, the movies, it's all part of it. But what it comes down to at the end is about, let's love each other. Let's be appreciative of what we have. And I basically spell out my priorities, and hopefully people can identify with some of them. For me, what I look for when I'm in the moment, time just goes away. It really does. I think for me, this is a very different breed of cat, because stand-up comedy is much more delivering your material, affecting people on one level, perhaps to make them laugh. And that I really get to read right away. I can tell if I'm doing well or if they're laughing. Let me change it up. Let me try this. I'll go over to this material. What I've noticed with this is there are laughs in this play, hopefully. There have been, as I've workshopped it, but there's more than that emotion in this play. And when I go there, when I time just sort of stands still for me. I really don't even see the crowd anymore. I just tell my story, and I kind of lose myself in it. And I think what is so powerful about theater is that when you affect people on a couple of different emotions, you really kind of get them, more than I've experienced with stand-up comedy, which I do love, but it's at one level. Theater, God, it just goes to another place and takes you to another world completely. I think everyone should go. They must go. But they must go because they need to support theater. It's been difficult times for theater with COVID and everything else. We need to remind people how these stories are really important to be told. When people ask me about my play, and they know I'm a stand-up comic, and I've been in some movies, obviously, as an actor, but I'm predominantly known as a stand-up comic. I always had struggled with, comedy, dramedy, heartfelt with some laughs, because it's the two different emotions. So come watch it, and hopefully you'll be moved in a lot of different directions. That's all I can say about my play. Hey, everybody, I'm Kevin Flynn. I am starring in a one-man play called Fear of Heights. I wrote it over COVID. Going to give out a call of action. I wrote this play. It's from my heart. I truly believe you will really enjoy it. Tickets are selling. I'm very happy about that. And I believe you'll enjoy it. And but that's the call of action. Come on out and support live theater, and support this one-person play.